Classroom Dynamics is supported by Logitech. As education continues to evolve, so does Logitech Education, your partner in content creation for the classroom. With Logitech's cutting-edge technology, students not only learn, but also become content creators. Whether it's in person or online, Logitech's tools are designed to inspire educators and learners alike. Logitech Education, inspiring the next generation of creators. For more, visit logitech.com/education. Transforming classrooms, one innovation at a time. Every classroom has the potential to be extraordinary, and the Logitech Reach adjustable content camera is your partner in making that happen. With its flexible arm and clear video, you can now showcase everything from detailed drawings to live experiments, ensuring that every student is engaged and involved. Whether you're teaching in person or online, Logitech Reach helps you connect with your students in a whole new way. Ready to take your lessons further? Visit logitech.com/reach and elevate your classroom to a whole new level. Welcome to Classroom Dynamics, Bits and Bytes, the podcast within the podcast where we explore cutting-edge technologies for your classroom. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Adam Todd. When we talk about artificial intelligence in schools, it can sound intimidating, especially when we're thinking about younger learners. But one of the most powerful entry points into AI isn't technical at all. It's actually something teachers are already doing every single day. It's called AI prompting, and at its simplest, it's just learning how to ask clear, thoughtful questions. Now think about how students might ask for help in the classroom. If a student says, "I don't get it," we usually respond with, "Well, what part don't you understand?" But when a student says, "I'm confused about the last step in this math problem," suddenly we can help them much more effectively. AI works the exact same way. AI prompting is the skill of telling an AI tool what you want, how you want it, and for whom. The clearer the prompt, the better the response. For students, this becomes a lesson in communication, precision, and reflection, not technology for technology's sake. And there's strong reasoning behind teaching this early on in a student's educational career. Research around metacognition, executive functioning, and language development shows that younger students benefit when they practice explaining their thinking, revising ideas, and evaluating feedback. Prompting naturally supports those skills. Students learn that the first answer isn't always the best answer, and that improvement comes through iteration. When framed correctly, AI prompting doesn't replace thinking, it reveals thinking. And if educators are expected to replicate the real world for our students, well, that's also going to have to include artificial intelligence and the proper way to use it, both ethically and responsibly. This skill also connects directly to future careers as AI becomes embedded across industries. 3 major career paths already continue to grow: AI and machine learning fields, where systems rely on human input and refinement; instructional design and educational technology, where AI supports personalized learning; and creative and media careers, where AI acts as a collaborative tool for writing, designing, and storytelling. In all of these fields, knowing how to communicate with AI is becoming a new form of literacy. That's right, a new form of literacy, which includes digital literacy, media literacy, information technology literacy, data literacy, visual literacy, social emotional literacy, and of course, the aforementioned AI literacy. It's a lot of literacy to learn. In the classroom, this shows up in a simple, powerful way. Students can use AI for self-directed learning by asking for explanations at their level or requesting examples that match their interest. They can use it for self-assessment by checking clarity in their writing, asking what could be improved, or even requesting questions to test their own understanding. These are just a couple of examples that students can use when it comes to AI. But as time moves on and AI becomes more and more embedded into the educational space, AI will become more of a thinking partner for students and their support, and not just an answer machine. Now, let's look at 2 simple ways you can explain AI prompting to students. Tip number 1, the robot helper analogy. Explain to students that AI is like a robot helper that only understands what you tell it. If you give it unclear directions, it gets confused. If you give it clear, detailed directions, though, it does a much better job. This mirrors how students already give instructions in class. And tip number 2, compare it to asking a teacher for help. Ask students, what happens if you say, I need help, versus I need help with the introduction of my story. Then connect that idea directly to AI. The better the question, the better the help. Teaching AI prompting at a young age isn't about preparing students for a future filled with machines. It's actually just about helping them become clearer thinkers, better communicators, and more reflective learners. Skills that actually matter no matter what digital tools will come next. Now, for more on AI prompting, here are our Google Notebook language model hosts, Bits and Bytes.
Artificial intelligence, it isn't just a buzzword anymore, is it? Not for, think tanks or Silicon Valley. It is, I think you could argue, the most transformative technology of our time. And if you just stop and look around, you realize AI is actively redefining how we live, how we work, how we learn. I mean, we're talking about everything from the voice assistants that manage our calendars to the algorithms that decide what news you see next. So for you, whether you're an educator, a parent, or just, really curious, this presents a fascinating, almost urgent challenge. How do you introduce something this abstract, this powerful, to kids in elementary or middle school? And how do you do it without completely overwhelming them or, turning the lesson into a really dry tech lecture? Today, we are diving deep into guides designed specifically to give you practical, simple, and actually engaging strategies to make AI accessible for young learners. We're trying to give you a shortcut to being really well informed on this. Okay, let's unpack this.
And we absolutely need to unpack the how, because the sources we've looked at make it so clear. Familiarity with these concepts is, it's rapidly moving from a nice to have to an essential skill for, future job market success. The central hurdle, I think, for anyone teaching this is just getting over the intangible nature of AI. How do you make the mechanism tangible for an 8-year-old or a 13-year-old? So our roadmap today, it's going to take us from the absolute foundational definitions, the why of this early introduction, and then we're going to move right into hands-on creation and play. Then we'll explore some of the best resources out there, and finally, dedicate some serious time to a crucial subject, the ethics of AI. We're getting you a full toolkit.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning then. If we're trying to teach kids about machines that learn, how do we explain that complex process? Simply, the guides we looked at offer a really strong starting point. They define AI as simply teaching machines how to learn from experiences similar to humans.
Oh.
And crucially, they suggest connecting it immediately to what students already use. Think about Siri or Alexa. You probably interact with these things every day without a second thought, about the complex AI running underneath it all. By starting with something familiar, a smart speaker, a tablet, you build a really solid, relatable foundation.
Yeah, you're not starting with a textbook. You're starting in their living room. And what's fascinating here is how quickly you can connect those simple daily interactions to the bigger societal impact. Once they get that a smart speaker is learning their voice, we can zoom out. The broader sources, they really emphasize that AI is already woven into the fabric of these critical sectors that kids will eventually inherit. We're talking about genuine change, like take precision agriculture.
Right, which sounds incredibly dull.
Right.
How do you make that relatable to a kid?
Well, that's it. You talk about drones and AI analyzing crops. So instead of a farmer having to, walk miles of fields guessing which part needs water, AI can tell them with incredible accuracy, hey, that 7 square feet right there needs attention.
That's a great example. It shifts it from abstract data to solving a real problem.
Mm.
And we see this in precision medicine too, right, where AI can tailor treatments and, of course, personalize education and e-commerce.
Mm-hmm.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, introducing these concepts early it's really a necessity. The students in the classroom today are going to be the adults managing these highly data-driven sectors tomorrow. We have to equip them with the skills not just to use AI, but to understand it, to shape it.
Yeah, precisely. And that brings us to the next practical strategy that we saw emphasized again and again, making the abstract concrete. Through dialogue, if you just talk about algorithms, kids will tune out. So the recommendations were to actively bring real-world examples into the classroom. You can talk about autonomous vehicles, not just that they exist, but why does the car slow down for a stop sign? It's not magic. It's an AI system that's constantly classifying objects, dangerous, safe, moving, stationary.
Or even more relatable, talk about recommendation algorithms on Netflix or YouTube. We've all been there. Why does it keep suggesting that one strange show?
Yeah.
The lesson is that the AI has learned your preferences from your past behavior. So you can ask a kid, if you watch 2 hours of action movies, what is the machine learning about you? That one simple question, it turns consumption into a lesson in data classification.
And it stops being a sci-fi concept. It starts being a tool.
Exactly.
That tangible connection is so vital, and it's the perfect pivot point to our next step, moving them from just passively understanding to actively engaging. This is where the real fun begins. All the sources strongly recommend moving immediately to hands-on activities. I mean, it's the difference between reading about a roller coaster and actually riding one.
Right.
Direct interaction lets them stop seeing AI as this mysterious black box and start seeing the actual mechanisms behind it. They see the inputs, they watch the outputs.
And that distinction is so key depending on the age group. For, younger elementary students, hands-on might be a simple exercise like sorting pictures of animals, building a little human-powered training set. But for middle schoolers, the guides really push for introducing simple coding tasks. This lets them create and manipulate basic AI systems. So they're building simple bots that respond to commands. It's not just theory anymore, it's creation.
And if you look at the design principle behind all of this, it's the power of play. The best resources point to coding games as an exceptionally effective way to do this. These games, they essentially simplify all the complexity. They introduce coding principles, and most importantly, they foster problem solving. Because when a kid's code fails in a game, it doesn't feel like a bad grade, it's a puzzle. It becomes a fun challenge to overcome, and that fundamentally changes their relationship with difficult problems. It builds resilience.
Absolutely. Think about teaching a pathfinding algorithm. Instead of, a mathematical proof, a coding game has them guide a little robot through a maze. When the robot hit the wall, that's instant feedback. The code is wrong, so they dive right back in to fix it. That process, that refinement through play, that's the essence of training an AI system.
It is.
And to take that engagement even further, beyond the classroom, we look at organizing workshops and camps. These are so important because they provide this immersive, guided environment where the focus is sustained.
Right. Camps let you spend days or weeks on this stuff. And the benefit is multiplicative. Students are applying their knowledge, they're collaborating, and they often get access to tools and experts a regular classroom just can't afford. These concentrated experiences, they leave a lasting impression. It can really solidify a kid's interest in a way a single one-hour lesson just can't.
So once you built that foundation and you've got them engaged hands-on, the next logical step is to point them toward the incredible, often free, resources available online. You don't need expensive equipment for this. The guides highlight free online resources. And I found the specific example of a free AI generator really memorable, like the ones from Pixar or similar platforms.
Like image generators.
Yes. You can teach kids prompt engineering. You teach them how to use descriptive, accurate prompts to create these stunning images. It's a real-world application of generative AI. It shows them immediately how the machine interprets their data input, their words, and creates an output. You start with blue house. It gives you a generic blue house. Then you refine it. A vibrant blue house with a red door on a floating cloud in the style of Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that process of refinement turns these abstract language models into something visual and immediate. The better the input, the better the result. They're learning to communicate with a machine.
That's a great example, but I do worry that introducing image generators first might, trivialize the concept a bit, focus too much on the flash and not the core mechanism of data interpretation. What's the strategy for countering that?
That's a totally fair challenge. But the guide emphasizes that it instantly connects the abstract idea of a language model to a visual result. The key isn't the image itself, it's the lesson in refining the prompt. The visual medium is like instant gratification that validates the hard work of structured language input. It makes these complex concepts feel like magic they can control.
I see the utility in the iteration, yes. And controlling that magic, it requires incorporating technology and also external expertise. The guides recommend integrating AI-powered learning tools directly into lessons, not as a fun side project, but as core teaching aids. This enhances content delivery. It captures their interest. I mean, think about an AI tool giving a kid instant feedback on a math problem tailored to their specific error. That's a direct positive demonstration of AI at work.
And alongside the tech, we have to bring in the people who actually build it. Guest speakers from the AI field add this crucial layer of realism. I know finding the right speaker can be hard logistically, but the value is immense. They share firsthand experiences. They bridge the gap between theory and real-world application. A scientist talking about how AI helps find new medicines is way more inspiring than a textbook chapter on algorithms. And it opens their minds to careers they never even knew existed.
And that brings us to the most crucial section, the one that absolutely requires depth. The ethical dimension.
Looking to spark excitement in your classroom and save time? Head over to Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers. From engaging lesson plans to creative lab books and test prep tools, these resources are designed to inspire learning and take the planning stress off your plate. Highly Motivated, motivating teaching resources that engage and inspire. For more, search Highly Motivated on Teachers Pay Teachers.
Introducing AI without discussing its ethical implications is not just incomplete, it's frankly irresponsible. It's not enough to teach them how to build the systems. We have to teach them how to build them responsibly.
Before we get to the implications, how do you even explain the foundational mechanism? How do you explain a neural network to a middle schooler?
The simplest way is probably an analogy to the human brain. You explain that a neural network is like a massive, complex chain reaction. Data gets passed from one little node to the next, and each node just asks a simple question.
The output of the first becomes the input for the second, and so on, until you get a final answer. This is a cat, or this is a car. The machine learns by strengthening or weakening the connections between those nodes.
That's essential context.
Oh.
Once they get that, then you can talk about the key points. Potential benefits versus harmful impacts. You have to discuss things like unbiased algorithms and privacy issues.
To explain bias, you can use the example of a facial recognition app. If the AI was only trained using pictures of people with light skin, it will do a terrible job recognizing someone with a darker complexion. The bias isn't malicious, right? It's just a reflection of flawed, incomplete data. And that lesson is huge. Biased data leads to biased and sometimes unfair outcomes. It highlights the human responsibility in the whole process. And that ties directly into the privacy discussion. It's not just about keeping secrets. It's about them understanding their own data footprint. Every time they use a voice assistant or stream a movie, they are generating data that AI is using to build a profile of them. So we need to ask questions like, who owns that data? How is it being stored? Could it be used to restrict their future choices?
Yeah.
It moves the conversation toward digital citizenship.
Absolutely. This ethical dimension is what separates a technician from a critical thinker, a responsible citizen. We have to teach them how to guard against unintended consequences. There's a source, code.org, that just crystallizes the critical question every young person needs to carry with them. It's not what computers can do, but what computers should do. This raises an important question that they will carry forward. And honestly, it's the most important lesson we can possibly teach.
This has been a really comprehensive deep dive. Introducing AI to kids is, as the sources all say, it's not just an advantage, it's an absolute necessity. It's our chance to equip them with critical future skills and, widen their worldview. We've seen that the path involves starting simple and relatable, moving fast to hands-on creation, leveraging free tools like generative art, and critically finishing with that ethical lens. The final overarching strategy in every single guide was just to reinforce their natural curiosity. They're going to have so many questions, and we have to encourage that. So what does this all mean? It means fostering a lifelong love for discovery in a field that will define their generation.
That curiosity is the engine of innovation. I mean, if AI is going to enable the changemakers of tomorrow to solve society's biggest challenges, climate change, poverty, medical breakthroughs, that foundational step is the moment of inspiration. The guides remind us that every grand adventure begins with a single step. We covered, 10 different methods today. Defining AI with daily tools, using real-world examples, coding games, immersive camps, generative AI, and debating ethics. So, given that the ultimate goal is applying this powerful technology for good, just consider which of those methods is the most effective way not just to educate, but to inspire a young learner, to get them to dream and invent a solution to a challenge they see right now in their own community. That initial spark of inventive purpose, that's the real goal.
For more on Classroom Dynamics, follow us on X at Class Dynamics or on Instagram at Classroom Dynamics Podcast. And be sure to search Classroom Dynamics on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast shows.